Today I wanted to have a chat about a couple of literary prizes because we are well and truly in the awards season here in the bookish community realm, whatever you want to call it. And there is one book prize in particular that I follow every year and try to read some books from and rarely manage it. And then there's another one that is brand new for this year that I think probably needs more hype and more attention. So I thought I would cover both of those in this video, have a chat about them, tell you which books from the shortlists or long list that I would really want to read, and just go through some books with you and tell you why I'm interested in these prizes. So the first one that I wanted to talk about is the one that only launched this year, or in 2024 technically. It's called the Climate Fiction Prize, and you've heard me talk over and over again that I am very passionate about the horrors, or rather preventing the horrors of climate change and bringing awareness to what is happening on our planet. So I was very pleased to find out that there was a brand new prize focusing on that very thing. This prize was launched in June 2024 and then submissions opened, and I think they were open for a month. Publishers were allowed to submit books from their list that they thought fit this category or would be suitable for the prize, and then the long list was announced in November. I only heard about this when the short list was announced in March. It was a couple of weeks ago now, and I've already researched the books on the list and I've decided to try to read them all. So I'm going to be doing a reading vlog, reading the books. So there were 9 books longlisted for this prize. We had Private Rights by Julia Armfield, which I believe was nominated for something last year, maybe the Women's Prize. The Mars House by Natasha Pulley. The Morningside by Taya Obricht. Water Baby by Chimoa Okereke. Briefly Very Beautiful by Roz Deneen. The Mystery of Time by Callie-Ann Bradley. Praiseworthy by Alexis Wright. Orbital by Samantha Harvey, and So I Roar by Abby Darry. So as I said, the shortlist has now been announced, and the ones that made it through were And So I Roar, The Morningside, The Ministry of Time, Briefly Very Beautiful, and Orbital. I've already read The Ministry of Time, so I don't need to reread it, thankfully, because I didn't enjoy it. I gave it 1 star. I thought it was absolutely awful, but I have such high hopes for the rest of the books on this list. Going through the long list, I am very surprised that the Natasha Pulley book didn't make it through, because I know that she is a very popular author, and as I said before, I think Private Rights was actually nominated previously, so I feel like that one would have been a good contender, but I guess it just didn't make it through. Just to go over the ones that were in the long list that didn't make it through, the tagline for Private Rights is "There is no way to bury a body in earth which is flooded." So this is the kind of catastrophical climate events type of cli-fi, and I believe this focuses on kind of cults and religion and how those things are or could be affected or possibly rise during times of crisis. There's also Water Baby, which again sounds like it's about rising sea levels. This one is set in Nigeria. It follows a 19-year-old called Baby, and it says here that Baby is yearning for an existence where she can escape the future her father has planned for her. It could be that this is kind of like cultish or something, but I don't really get that vibe. I would have actually quite liked to read this one because it's set in Nigeria, or like off the coast of the mainland, and I've not really read many cli-fi books set in Africa as far as I can remember. I've read quite a few set in the UK and the US, obviously, maybe a couple set in Asia, but I'd really like to expand on that. Then we have The Mars House. This is about a man who was a ballet dancer in London and then he became a climate refugee. The refugees here were actually travelling, or are trying to travel to Mars, because that's where the safe terraformed colony is, and Earth is presumably uninhabitable. I think this one sounds really interesting. I've not had the best history with Natasha Pulley books before, but I would really love to read this one. I'm low-key quite pleased it wasn't picked for this prize, just so I didn't have to like commit to reading it within a certain time frame, but I would like to give this a go in the future. And then we've got Praiseworthy, which looks like it's Australian short stories. It says here that in a small Aboriginal town dominated by a haze cloud, which heralds both ecological disaster and a gathering of ancestors, Cause Man Still is chasing a mad vision, a national donkey transport scheme that will guarantee his people's independence forever. So it looks like the author, Alexis Wright, is an Indigenous Australian, and I think these are short stories. I've not heard of this author. I'm not a massive fan of short stories, so I'm not sure I would have been thrilled to pick this one up, but I am very intrigued by the concept, so that one didn't make it through. As for the shortlist, we've got The Ministry of Time, as I've already said. I didn't love this one. It's a time travel-y sort of book, and I wouldn't entirely say that this fits into cli-fi, at least entirely. So I think the publisher probably submitted this one because it's winning all sorts of awards and gaining lots of popularity. They were probably thinking, yeah, this like little bit of the book fits in there. Not a massive fan. But moving on, we have And So I Roar, which is also set in Nigeria. I was just saying that I wanted to read more books or more cli-fi books set in Africa. It says here that the main character is 14-year-old Adunni, who is excited to finally enroll in school. Having escaped her rural village in a desperate bid to seek a better future, she has found refuge with Tia, a kind and brilliant woman on her untroubled journey of self-discovery, but it's not so simple to run away from your past. I'm very interested to see how Cli-Fi fits into this, or how this fits into Cli-Fi. One of the judges, who I assume pushed it through to the shortlist, says that it's underscored by intersectional environmental issues. It's a tough but essential read, so I'm very excited to read this one. And I've just realised it's by the author of The Girl with the Louding Voice, which is on my TBR. So if I like this one, I'm gonna finally pick that one up. Briefly Very Beautiful is set in a city that has been rocked by catastrophe. It tackles terrorism, there are lots of food shortages and wildfires happening. It sounds like the city is in chaos. It says here that Cass is quietly raising 3 small children by herself. Her husband Nathaniel has left to serve as a medic in a war overseas. So this is probably about how climate change is affecting things at home, but has possibly caused war and strife in other countries. I'm not sure if it tackles climate refugees as well. That's something that I'm very interested in reading about. So I am keen on this. I've pre-ordered this one because it does sound very good. Orbital is one that I've requested from the library. This one was nominated, I think, for the Goodreads Choice Award, and everyone has been talking about it. I think my friend Angela may have read it, and if she did, I don't think she enjoyed it. So this is about a group of astronauts who are orbiting the Earth, and I think they're observing it from afar while also conducting experiments on the human body in some way. I'm not really sure, but I'm very intrigued to read this. And then finally we have Morningside, which I do actually own because I have ordered it, and this is about a 11-year-old girl who is living in a place called the Morningside, which was said to be like the jewel of this island city that it's set in. But now the Morningside is crumbling and the city is half underwater. The back says that it focuses on generational folklore and the passing down of stories, which is a topic that I'm really interested in. So I would love to give this one, well, I'm going to, but I would love to give it a go anyway, because it sounds like something that I would love. So those are the books in the Cli-Fi prize shortlist. Let me know if you are interested in any of those. I think all of these actually sound really interesting to me for one reason or another. There aren't any here, apart from the Ministry of Time, that I would say I would dread reading, and I'm quite keen to get my hands on all of these. So I've, as I said, pre-ordered Briefly Very Beautiful, and I've requested Orbital from the library, and now I just need to find out where I can get my hands on And So I Roar. So I will be doing a reading vlog on these books. I'm going to get started on the Morningside very soon, and then the winner will be announced mid-May, so I've got a little bit of time, which is good because I still need to get my hands on most of these. I should be able to manage it, so look out for that vlog. And then the next prize that I would like to talk about is the Women's Prize. This prize happens every year. I can't remember when it was started. So there are 16 books on this long list, and I have already read one of them, and that is The Ministry of Time. Again, I really don't know why this book is getting so much hype and so many awards, but there we are. Let me show you the books that have been nominated. There is Good Girl by Aria Aber, The Ministry of Time by Callie-Ann Bradley, Somewhere Else by Jenny Datches, Amma by Surrey De Silva, Crooked Seas by Karen Jennings, All Fours by Miranda July, Dream Hotel by Layla Lalami, The Persians by Sanam Malauji. One that I will not be reading because I don't agree with the author's views, and that is Dream Count by Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie, Nesting by Roisin O'Donnell, A Little Trickery by Rosanna Pike, Birding by Rose Ran, The Artist by Lucy Steeds, Tell Me Everything by Elizabeth Strout, The Safe Keep by Yael van der Velden, and finally Fundamentally by Nusaiba Yunus. There are quite a few of these that I am really interested in. I've got my hands on 2 so far. The first one is A Little Trickery. This one is set in the 1500s in medieval England, so around the time of the Tudors, but not actually focusing on the royal family. This is just focusing on a normal person, which I love the sound of because I've read lots of books, or I've consumed a lot of media surrounding the Tudors, but nothing about people actually living in that time. And then there's also The Dream Hotel. This is about a main character who is travelling through an airport, and then she is detained because the government or whoever have found that in her dreams she has shown a lot of signs that she could eventually kill her husband. And that sounds a lot like the Minority Report to me, and it also sounds a little bit connected or relevant to what's happening in the US right now, where a lot of travellers and visitors are being detained for just making mistakes and doing the wrong thing with their visa or whatever, whereas before, a few months ago, they would have just been sent home. They are now being detained for weeks, months at a time, which is obviously something that I don't agree with for, you know, an innocent mistake or such a small error. So I'm very interested to read these 2. I got these from the library, and I've also reserved The Persians from the library as well. I can't remember where I am in the queue. I think it should be getting to me soon. This is a book that follows a family from Iran, and I believe they were like a big deal in Iran, and then they moved to the US, and they found that like without their community, they had to sort of readjust their expectations and the way they live their lives. So I'm very interested in this one. I think it's like a generational kind of thing. I'm not going to go through all 16 of these, But the other one that I'm really interested in is Fundamentally. This is a debut novel about a woman who travels to Iraq because she gets a really good job offer. And then once she's there, she realizes that she's kind of in over her head. And I think she's kind of involved in the UN in some way. I'm not exactly sure what her job title is, but I am interested to read this one. It does sound like something I would enjoy reading. There's also Amma, which is set in Singapore in the 50s, and it's about a 10-year-old girl who kills her abuser. And then after that, it turns into like a generational story. So again, something that I think I would really enjoy reading about, not necessarily because of the dark subject matter, but because I do like reading generational stories where it's kind of one big event or situation kind of affects the family generations down the line. So I think those are the ones that I'm most keen to read. Let me know in the comments below which ones are on your list. As I said, I don't want to go through every single book on this long list because it's 16 books long and I don't want to be here forever. So I'm not sure how I'm going to tackle this particular awards list. I was considering trying to read a bunch of them, like just randomly, the ones that sound most interesting to me before they are even kind of put on the shortlist, or even after the shortlist is announced, because it's being announced I think in like 2 weeks time. Maybe I could still read the ones that I'm interested in and tell you which ones I would maybe suggest putting through, because first of all I don't have time to read all 16 or 15 books because I've already read Ministry of Time, but also I've tried to do that before and it's just turned into such a rush and it's made it really unenjoyable for me, especially trying to force myself to read books that I'm just not interested in. So maybe if I like cherry pick the ones that I am keen on reading, I can just do a vlog about that. Let me know what you think. What would you like to see from me? I'm very hesitant to commit to reading just the shortlist, just in case there are any books in there that I don't care about reading. So let me know what you think. Obviously, I'm doing this as a hobby and for enjoyment, so I will ultimately do whatever I feel like doing. But yeah, I'd love to know your opinions. I also want to know, like, do you guys follow awards and shortlists and long lists and all of that stuff? I always get really excited during award season, like watching the predictions videos and the reaction videos and going through all the lists. I've also gone through the Nebula list as well, but I didn't want to record that. I just find it really fascinating to see what the difference is between what booktubers and bookstagrammers are kind of recommending and focusing on versus what gets nominated by the publishers and picked out by the judges. Quite often, at least in my feed, there's no overlap there, and I find that so intriguing. And I do wonder what like the rest of the world or other like normal readers are doing. Like, what are they paying attention to and what are they actually reading? I'm not sure. I don't know, it's just really intriguing to me. I find the whole thing fascinating. So yeah, those are the 2 awards lists that I will be paying special attention to. I'll also probably keep an eye out for the Hugo Awards, see what's going on there, and also the Nebula Awards as well. Let me know if you want videos on those. I could maybe consider it depending on how these ones go. Please go and check out the Climate Fiction Prize. I'll leave the website linked down below so that you can go and read up on it. I think it's a really good idea. It's a really great prize to introduce and to promote the issue of climate change and to get people talking about the books that are doing a lot of work for raising awareness to readers and getting people talking, which is, you know, the point of books. Thank you so much for watching. Looking forward to your comments. I'll speak to you all soon. Bye.